I never thought I would be afraid of a normal house. I was 27 years old when this happened. I had just moved into a small rental home after getting a new job. It was in a quiet neighborhood in the United States, the kind of place where people waved when they walked past and left their porch lights on at night. Nothing about it felt dangerous at first. It was a normal Tuesday. I woke up early. I made coffee. I checked my phone and got ready for work. Everything felt simple and calm. The house was quiet in the way a new house usually is.
No creaky sounds. No strange smells.
No bad feelings. I remember thinking I was finally in a good place in my life. The first strange thing happened that night. I got home late and locked the door behind me. I checked the windows like I always did. They were locked. I turned off the living room light and went to my bedroom. I laid in bed and scrolled through my phone for a while. That's when I heard it. A quiet sound in the hallway. It wasn't loud. It didn't sound like someone walking. It sounded like something brushing against the wall, like fabric moving slowly. I sat up in bed and listened. The sound stopped. I told myself it was just the house settling. Over the next few days, strange little things started happening. Nothing big. Nothing I could clearly explain. The kitchen cabinet would be slightly open when I got home. My bedroom door would be cracked open even though I remembered closing it. One morning, I found muddy footprints by the back door. I told myself I had probably made them. I started checking my doors and windows more carefully. Every night, I walked through the house before going to bed. I made sure everything was locked. I turned off all the lights and stood still for a few seconds, listening. Sometimes I thought I could hear breathing. I would stand in the dark hallway and hold my breath. I would listen so carefully that my ears started to hurt. But every time, the sound stopped right when I focused on it. The house still looked normal. The street was still quiet. My neighbors still smiled and waved. But something felt different. It felt like the house wasn't empty when I was inside it. It felt like I wasn't alone, even when I could see every room. I didn't tell anyone about it. I thought they would laugh. I thought I was just stressed or tired. I didn't know yet that someone else had already been inside my house. Someone who wasn't supposed to be there. And I had no idea they were still close. The house was a small one-story place at the end of a quiet street. It wasn't special. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, small kitchen, and a narrow hallway that connected everything. The paint was clean. The floors were wooden but old. It looked like a normal starter home. It was located in a regular suburban neighborhood. Lawns were trimmed. Cars were always parked in the driveways. Kids rode bikes during the day. At night, the streetlights turned on and everything went quiet. It felt safe. That was one of the main reasons I rented it. I had moved there for work. I had just gotten a new job at a local warehouse, and I needed a place close enough to walk if my car ever broke down. The rent was cheap. The landlord didn't ask too many questions. It felt like a good deal at the time. I didn't want anything fancy. I just wanted a quiet place to come home to. I lived there alone. I didn't have pets. I didn't have roommates. My family lived in another state, and I wasn't very close to my neighbors. I liked being by myself. I worked long shifts and usually came home tired. Most nights, I just wanted to eat something simple and go to sleep. My daily routine was simple. I woke up early. I showered. I made instant coffee. Then I drove to work before traffic got bad. When I came home, I usually watched TV or scrolled on my phone. Sometimes I played games. Nothing complicated. The nights were quiet. You could hear distant cars sometimes. A dog barking far away. Wind moving through the trees. It felt like a normal kind of quiet. The kind of quiet people don't think twice about. At first, everything felt normal. I unpacked my boxes slowly. I didn't rush. I put my clothes in the closet. I bought cheap furniture from a thrift store. I hung simple curtains. I didn't decorate much. I liked the empty feeling of the space. I talked to the landlord one time in person.
He was an older man.
He gave me the keys and showed me the basics. He told me to call if anything broke. That was it.
No warningness.
No strange stories. No mention of anything bad. It was just a normal house, a normal street, and a normal quiet life. The kind where nothing ever feels like it could go wrong. At least, that's what I thought at the time. The first strange thing I noticed was a sound. It happened late at night, around 11 p.m. I had just turned off the lights and laid down in bed. The house was completely quiet. I wasn't thinking about anything scary. I was just scrolling through my phone, getting ready to sleep. Then I heard a soft noise from the hallway. It sounded like a slow shuffle. Not loud, not fast. Just a quiet, dragging sound across the floor. I sat still and listened. It stopped after a few seconds. I told myself it was nothing. The next day, I noticed the kitchen light was on when I got home. I clearly remembered turning it off before leaving for work. I stood in the doorway for a moment and stared at it. I didn't feel scared, just confused. I turned it off and moved on. A few nights later, I heard something again. This time it sounded like someone lightly tapping on the wall. Not knocking, just gentle taps. 3 taps. Then silence. I started paying more attention after that. I began checking my locks twice before going to bed. I made sure the windows were sealed shut. I pulled the curtains closed tight. I kept my phone closer to me while sleeping. Then, small things started moving. My shoes were turned the wrong direction by the front door. My bathroom door was slightly open when I remembered closing it. The hallway felt darker than it should have. I started feeling like someone was standing behind me sometimes. I would be in the kitchen, washing dishes, and suddenly feel watched. When I turned around, there was nothing there. One night, the TV turned on by itself. The screen lit up. No sound. Just static. I was sitting on the couch when it happened. I stared at it for a few seconds, then slowly turned it off. I didn't sleep much that night. The house started feeling different. The air felt heavier. The silence felt louder. Even small sounds made me pause. I started leaving lights on at night. I kept my bedroom door half open, so I could see the hallway. Sometimes, late at night, I thought I could hear breathing that wasn't mine. It was slow and quiet, like someone trying not to be noticed. Whenever I focused on it, it stopped. I started to realize something felt wrong. Not dangerous. Not violent. Just wrong. Like I wasn't the only one moving around inside the house anymore. After that, the house stopped feeling safe. I started noticing things I couldn't ignore anymore. The sounds weren't random. They had a pattern. Every night around the same time, between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m., I would hear movement in the hallway. It didn't sound like pipes. It didn't sound like wind. It sounded like slow footsteps. They would stop outside my bedroom door. Then they would stay there for a long time. I would stare at the door, waiting to see the handle move. Sometimes it felt like someone was standing right on the other side. I stopped sleeping properly. I started going to bed with the lights on. I kept my phone unlocked. I slept with my bedroom door locked. One night, I came home and found my back door unlocked. I knew I locked it. I always locked it. I stood there holding the door handle for a long time. I felt a tight feeling in my stomach that I couldn't explain. That same week, I found fingerprints on my bedroom window. They were on the outside. I wiped them off, but the thought stayed in my head. Someone had touched my window. I started hearing breathing again. This time, it didn't feel distant. It felt close. Like someone was standing just outside my room or near the corner of the hallway. The breathing sounded slow, controlled, like they were trying not to make noise. I stopped walking around the house at night. I stopped turning off all the lights. I stopped relaxing in my own living room. I started feeling trapped inside my own home. One night, I was in the kitchen when I noticed something. The hallway light was off. I didn't turn it off. I slowly walked toward the hallway. I didn't want to make noise. The air felt thick. The floor felt colder. I saw a shape near the bathroom door. It was tall.
Still.
It looked like a person. I stood there, barely breathing. The shape moved slightly. That's when I realized it wasn't a shadow. It was someone standing in my house.
They were closer now.
Not hidden. Not imagined. They were inside. And they were quietly getting closer to me every night. I didn't scream. I couldn't. When I saw the man standing in the hallway, my body felt locked in place. He didn't move right away. He just stood there like he didn't care if I saw him or not. The hallway was dark, but I could see enough. He was wearing dark clothes. His face looked calm.
Too calm.
He took one slow step toward me. That was when I moved. I ran back into the kitchen and grabbed my phone. My hands felt numb. I tried to unlock the screen, but my fingers wouldn't work properly. I could hear his footsteps now. They were slow, but steady. He wasn't running. He knew I didn't have many places to go. I went into the bathroom and locked the door. I held my breath. I turned the lights off. I called 911 and whispered. I told them someone was inside my house. I said my address slowly. My voice didn't sound like mine. I heard him walking around outside the bathroom. His footsteps stopped right in front of the door. I could see the shadow of his shoes under the door. He tried the handle. It didn't open. He tapped the door softly. Once.
Twice.
Then he leaned close. I could hear his breathing on the other side. It was slow, controlled, not angry, not rushed. He stayed there for a long time. I thought he was going to break the door. I thought he was going to get inside. Then the footsteps moved away. I stayed silent. I didn't move.
I didn't even cry.
I just listened. A few minutes later, I heard the back door open. I didn't know if he left. I didn't know if it was a trick. I stayed in the bathroom until I heard sirens. When the police knocked and said my name, I finally opened the door. My legs felt weak. My chest felt tight. I couldn't stop shaking. I walked out slowly, and I saw my back door. It was wide open. The police searched the house slowly. They checked every room, every closet, under the beds, inside the cabinets. I stood near the front door, wrapped in a blanket one of the officers gave me. I was shaking, but I felt numb at the same time. My mind felt empty. One officer walked toward me and asked if anything was missing. I said I didn't know. I hadn't even thought about that. They found muddy shoe prints in my kitchen. The prints were fresh. They also found scratches on the inside of my back door, near the lock. They looked like they had been made from the inside of the house, not outside. That confused me. One officer asked if anyone else had a key. I said no. I was sure of it. I had been the only one with a key. Then they checked the attic. I told them I didn't use it. I didn't even store things up there. It was just empty space. At least I thought it was. When they opened the attic, everything changed. They found a blanket, a backpack, empty water bottles, food wrappers. Someone had been living there. The officer looked at me and said they believed someone H. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. Sometimes I check my vents. Sometimes I look behind furniture. Sometimes I stand in the hallway at night and listen to the walls. I never found anything, but I never felt safe. The police never called me back. The case was never solved. They never told me if they found the man. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I opened the bathroom door that night at house for a while. Not days. Weeks. Maybe longer. They said the man I saw wasn't breaking in that night. He had already been inside. He knew the layout. He knew where I slept. He knew when I came home. He had probably been watching me. Then they told me something worse. The man ran out of the back door before they arrived. They searched the area. They didn't find him.
No fingerprints.
No name. No identity. The case stayed open. A few days later, I carefully looked through my house while packing my things. That's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. A vent cover inside my bedroom closet had been removed. There was a small space behind it, big enough for someone to see through, big enough for someone to watch me sleep. That was when I understood the truth. He wasn't trying to break in. He had already been living inside my walls. I moved out of that house 1 week later. I didn't pack everything. I didn't take my time. I only brought the things that were easy to carry. Clothes, papers, my phone. I left most of my furniture behind. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted to be somewhere else. I stayed with a friend in another town for a while. I slept on his couch. I didn't tell him everything that happened. I just told him I felt unsafe. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to see what I had seen. For a long time, I didn't sleep with the lights off. I didn't sleep with the doors closed. I checked corners of rooms without thinking. Even after I moved into a new place, I kept hearing things. Soft tapping sounds at night. Light footsteps in the hallway. A quiet shift of air in the room. I told myself it was my imagination. I wanted to believe it was. One night, I woke up to the sound of breathing. I lay still in bed, staring at the ceiling. I didn't move. The breathing wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It sounded calm, like someone trying not to wake me. I turned on the lamp next to my bed. The room was empty. The door was locked. The windows were closed. Nothing looked wrong. Sometimes I think about how long he had been watching me. And sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still hear slow breathing. And I don't know if it's just in my head, or if someone is still somewhere close, waiting.